Good day, everyone, and welcome to lesson 2 of oral communication in context. So, our lesson is models of communication. Okay, so our reference for this lesson is this. So, it's Oral Com Effective Communication Skills for Lifelong Learners by Bautista. Right? So I used this book because all the necessary information I think that I needed to discuss to you are here. So I just had one reference. Okay, so let's start our discussion. I'm thinking if I'm gonna upload this on YouTube or just send the recording to you, but let's hope for the best. Okay, so here's my lesson. All right, can you see it now? It's models of communication there. Okay, so let me put this on a slideshow. All right, so models of communication, nature, process, and functions of communication. Okay, so that's me there. And our objectives are the following. Well, differentiate the various models of communication, distinguishes the unique features of one communication process from the other. Okay, so what will happen in this video is that I will just have my pure discussion. Okay, so I will not give examples anymore. Okay, so we will have examples during our synchronous class na lang. Okay, so we have models of communication. Actually, under here we have three. Okay, we have the linear models of communication, interactive models of communication, transactional models of communication. Okay, supposedly I will just discuss these three, but I want to dig deeper. Okay, if what are the linear models, what are the interactive models? So, what I did, I gave you some information. Okay, so on, all right, let me use this. Okay. So on this picture right here, okay, so it's the summary of the types of communication model, right? So each model has kinds. So we have linear model, okay. So it's also known as transmission model, okay. So this reflects a process in which a speaker transmits information to a listener. So first models of communication were linear. So when we say linear, it's just a straight line. Okay, so it's a one-way process of communication. It's a one-way communication, right? So process of communication was then perceived to be sequential, one way in nature, which means that the message moves towards only a single direction. So meaning from me to you. That's it. That's linear model. So under this, we have Aristotelian model, we have Lastwell model, Shannon and Weaver model, and lastly, for this, we have Berlow's model, right? So, okay, okay. So let's move on to Aristotelian model, okay? So it's one of the linear models, and it has three elements mainly. It's very simple: the speaker, the message, and the audience. So before, in ancient Greek time, public speaking is a common practice. Okay, so most of the time they have public speaking. So in public speaking, the focus there is actually the speaker's ability to persuade the audience. Okay, so with that, Aristotle made three modes of persuasion. So Aristotle right here is the proponent of this model, of course, from the name itself. Okay, so according to this picture right here, so you have the picture here. All right, so here's Aristotle. So he said, all human actions have one or more of these seven causes. So it's chance, nature, compulsions, habit, reason, passion, and desire. So actually, it has a lot of causes, okay, according to him. So let's move forward. So we have three modes of persuasion according to philosopher Aristotle. So it's not Aristotle, okay? So the stress on his name is on the first syllable, so it's Aristotle, okay? So we have ethos, logos, and pathos. So when we say ethos, it's the personal character or credibility of the speaker. So it's like asking yourself, how credible are you as a speaker, okay? Logos is the logical appeal based on reasoning. So what comes out of your mouth, is that valid? Is that reliable? Is it full of reasoning? Okay. And we also have pathos. It's of course appeals to the emotions of the audience. So it's how the speaker connects to the audience, right? So yeah, according to that animation you have there, can be quite persuasive, right? Then we have here, okay, how do I move this down? All right, so we have here the summary of the three modes of persuasion by Aristotle. So we have logos, so it's logic, reason, and proof, ethos, credibility or trust, and then pathos, emotions, values. So just review them later. And, okay, so here's the summary of Aristotelian model. So we have speaker, then you have the message right there, then you have the audience. Second, under linear model, we have Lasswell model. So he's right here, okay? So he came up with communication model involving, okay, involving, okay, 5 components that could be answered by the questions. So he has questions, right? It's like he has a guide question. So the guide questions are the following: who says what, in what channel, to whom, with what effect. So here's actually the reason why he has this model. Okay, of course, the model is named after him. And okay, the inclusion, what's actually the focus of his model is the inclusion of the element called channel, okay, or the medium. So like what I told you last time, okay, may it be asynchronous by the video recording you just saw, and of course you also have the sync wherein I called you and discussed which channel. Of course, it's another term for medium, okay, through which information is conveyed and understood. So channel can be in the form of print media or broadcast media. So in print media, we have newspaper, and broadcast, radio, and television. So before um, it's very evident, okay, because there's no internet before, right? Unlike now. So here's the model of Laswell. So you have there the format since, okay, it's still linear, okay, so it's one way. So you have the who there, so it's the communicator, then says what is the message, in what channel is the medium, to whom is the receiver, and with what effect is, of course, the effect. So this is Laswell model, still one way. Right. Then we have third model under linear. It's Shannon and Weaver model. So Claude Shannon and Warren Weaver. So you have the pictures here. So here's Claude, here's Warren. Well, they refined Laswell's model. Okay. So they based their work on Laswell's. So their model is initially designed for telephone and radio communication. All right. So they made their model for telephone and radio communication. Of course, because that's their focus. Okay. So there's an addition to this model, which is the element of noise. Okay, so as a review, last time we discussed three kinds of noise. We have there the semantic, external, and internal. Okay, and by the way, internal can be physiological noise or psychological noise. Okay, so if we wanted to be specific, right? So noise, refers to any form of interference which affects the meaning or disrupts the flow of communication, and you know that, of course. But just take note that in Shannon and Weaver model, you have an addition, the element of noise, and it's after Laswell's model. Okay, so what's unique with Laswell's model is there's an addition of element, which was channel. Okay. So let's move forward. We have here of course, the model. Okay. So we have there the information source, transmitter. So you have here the noise. All right. So the addition of Shannon and Weaver. Then you have there the receiver and the destination. Okay. Still, what's similar to these three models are they are still linear, one way. Okay. So that's it for linear model. Ah, before that, I forgot, we have Berlow's model. So it's from David Berlow. So David Berlow, well, proposed SMCR model of communication. So if you have heard of the ASMR, well, David Berlow's have the SMCR model. Okay, so what is this SMCR? You have the source, S for source, M for message, C for channel, R for receiver. So each of which has 5 components. So, well, what's the inspiration of David? So the inspiration came from Shannon and Weaver. Okay, so let's see what Berlow's model is. So we have here the model. Okay, so yeah, what's unique with Berlow's model is that you have there the senses, okay? You have there the 5 senses for channel. So you can use your senses. For example, you have to, when someone is speaking, so you can just nod. Okay, you could just say touch that someone, and maybe you can have the eye expression. Okay, so here's the model of Berlow. Okay, so you have there the source kuno has 5 components. So here's the source components. We have the communication, attitude, knowledge, social system, culture, and of course the message. You have content, elements, treatment, structure, code, and channel. Of course, it uses 5 senses. Okay, and then we have there the receiver, communication skills, attitudes, knowledge, social system, and culture. So that's Berlow's. Just take note of the SMCR, okay, or the ASMR, so that you would remember Berlow. And it's what's unique to his model is he has 5 senses under channel. And yeah, we have the second main model of communication, the interactive models of communication. So in here, the receiver's role in the communication process was given notice of. So what's the focus of this model, of this interactive model, is the receiver's role. Because unlike the linear model, linear is just one way, right? So the receiver there has no feedback, all right? While in here, interactive, well, the sender and receiver can interact with each other, okay? So the receivers of the message may also convey the information responding or giving feedback either through oral language or through actions, gestures, and facial expressions. So under this interactive model, we have the Scrams models and White's model. So let's see what these models have for us. So we have Scrams models. So here's the picture of Scrams, okay? So he developed a model in which each of the communicators take on the roles of an encoder, interpreter, and decoder in the communication process. Okay, so also the interpretation of the message can also be influenced by people's field of experience. Okay, so you will see here encoder, interpreter, and decoder on his model after this presentation. Okay, so what's unique with his model, with Scrum's model, is the field of experience. So why Scrum's models? Why plural? So he has two models. So what are these two models? First is this. Okay, so you just have it there. So sender and receiver can be both the decoder, interpreter, and encoder. Okay, so it's vice versa. So here's Scrum's model number 1. Take note of that. Then for Scrum's model number 2, here it goes. What's the difference? In here now, in his model number 2, you have the field of experience. So he says that the way the person understands or responds to the message being sent by the sender, okay, so it is influenced by his or her field of experience towards a topic they are talking about. Okay, so it has an influence. And then according to Wilbur, cultural differences and the lack of shared experiences often result in misunderstanding. I agree. So, for example, if the person is talking about political issues and you, as the listener, or you, as the receiver of the message, is actually not into it, so most likely there will be a misunderstanding that will happen. Okay, because you're not on that same field of experience regarding political views. Okay, then we have White's model. Okay, so this is White, Eugene White. Okay, so he recognizes feedback as a part of the communication process. Okay, so what's unique with White's model is the element feedback. So he described the process as sequential and cyclical, following the 8 stages of oral communication. So according to him, we have 8 stages of oral communication. So we have thinking, symbolizing, expressing, transmitting, receiving, decoding, feedbacking, and monitoring. So let us see the model. So here's how it looks like. Okay, so it starts from the thinking, of course, always starts with your thinking. Then how would you symbolize it? Then how would you express it? How would you transmit, receive, decode, feedback, monitoring, thinking? Okay, and the cycle goes. All right, so although White's model recognizes the interaction of the sender and the receiver of the message, it fails to consider the active role of the receiver of the message in the process. Okay, so actually I agree because this just focuses on how the sender, okay, transmits the message from his thinking down to monitoring. All right, it does not actually focus on the receiver, but it's actually a detailed representation on how a message travels. Okay, so moving forward, we have, well, that's for interactive. Okay, so it's two-way already in interactive. So if linear is one way, interactive is two-way. So let's now go to transactional models of communication. What is this transactional? So this is considered the most accurate representation of the communication process. So this is the most accurate. Why? Because it illustrates the dynamic and simultaneous nature of communication. All right. So interactive models fail to take into account the fact that both communicators can send and receive information at the same time. Okay. So both communicators can send and receive information at the same time. So how is this done? We have two models under this. We have Woods and speech communication model. So let's go first with the Woods. So it's the proponent of this model, transactional model, is Julie Wood. So she portrayed communication as a dynamic process which continually changes over time depending on previous interactions. All right. So basically, there is time. Okay. So it's a dynamic process which continually changes over time. So how is that possible? So what is her illustration? It's this. Okay, so you have there the representation. So it's A's field of experience. It can be you as the sender. B's field of experience is there. Okay, so you have the time, 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 right? So the time as well contributes to how the message is being transmitted or how the message is being perceived or understood by the receiver. Okay, because for example, yesterday you said that you will pass the requirement, then today you weren't able to pass because of uncertain um situation that you have, right? So basically time has an influence as well in communication. So that's the point of would. Okay, so it can be like yesterday you're happy, all right, you said yes yesterday, and now you said no. All right, so it depends on time. It can be influenced by time. And lastly, under transactional, we have speech communication transactional model. So we have a lot of proponents here. Okay, so I have mentioned the first and second authors, proponents. We have Macaro and Gronbeck et al. So they were like 6 of them. Okay, so what is this model? It's designed primarily to represent public communication. Okay, so it's composed of the following elements: the speaker, listeners, feedback, message, channel, situation, and cultural context. So what's unique with this model is we have situation and cultural context. Okay, so in situation, element refers to the physical environment and social context in which communication occurs. Well, you know that already. It's situation right here is synonymous to the setting that we have discussed last time. And then we have the cultural context. So it deals with the rituals, rules, and norms imposed by a particular culture. Okay, so according to them, Macaro, Granbeck et al., okay, situation and cultural context influence communication as well. Right, so here's the representation. So here's the clearest picture that I have seen online. So you have there, okay, the representation, the speaker, messages affected by speaker's purpose, knowledge, skills, attitudes, and credibility. So, okay, you have there the message has content, structure, and style. So you have the listeners, and you have the feedback. Okay, you have the context and the situation there. Okay, so yeah, so that's it. That's the models of communication: linear, interactive, transactional models of communication. So just a quick summary: linear model, okay, it's one way. You have Aristotelian, you have Berlow's model, you have Shannon and Weaver, and you have Laswell for linear. Interactive, well, you have there, I forgot the models, but okay. So for transactional, you have, yeah, Eugene White for interactive models. Then for transactional, you have Wood and speech communication model. Okay, so that's it. If you have questions, just reserve them on our synchronous class. But let me check. I forgot who's under interactive. Yeah, we have Scrams and White's model. All right. Yeah, just to be clear. So if you have questions, just reserve them for I will answer them, or we will answer them during our synchronous class. Okay, so I hope that you have learned for today's lesson, and yeah, don't forget to prepare your Flipgrid's introduction video. Okay, so it must last 1.5 minutes only, 1 minute and 30 seconds only, and it must be submitted to Flipgrid. Yeah. All right, have a great day. Goodbye. Let me first stop sharing. Okay, wait. All right, here. Okay.